Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super Fantify. This being a show we're talking about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm gonna talk about Onmyo Kaiten Rebirth Verse Season 1, Episode 6. Great episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, we're immediately picking up where last episode left off, where Takeru has turned into what he later on, well, he kind of dubs it this because of Tsukimiya, but he dubs it his Yasha mode. And what's also interesting is, like, he just subconsciously knows how to draw it. Because, like, he just fought with, like, this enlarged right arm previously, but now it's, like, the powers manifested itself a little differently, and he ends up summoning a weapon. I don't know what you call those weapons. I've seen them in different things, but, like, a mace is the closest thing I can call it, but, like, it's not a mace. It's something else, but I just don't know what you would call that type of weapon. I don't know the proper name for it. So I looked it up. It's pronounced, it's called a kanabo, which is like a metal stick or metal club, which club is the word I was looking for. I kept being like mace. It's like club would have been a better word to go for, but that's kind of what it means anyway. But I'm probably butchering the pronunciation, but it's kanabo, I guess so. But either way, he summons one of those, which we even see later on in the episode. He's able to shift it too, because he could also like have it like part of it turn into it can lengthen itself and like wrap around someone like a whip, interestingly enough. But yeah, he uses it to fight against this Oni, and initially it's trying to do the illusion technique again, except this time it's manifesting itself as fire instead of ice. But he like ignores that because he's like, yo, that's not going to work on me this time, and he ends up attacking it. And when he does, it tries to block with his sword, but the kanabo like phases through and then strikes. So a lot of that's happening very subconsciously, which I thought was kind of interesting. Once again, it's the first time he's using this weapon, so no questions type of thing of just kind of like, yeah, it's there. We're not going to ask too many questions. But yeah, he ends up defeating this thing, and luckily they saved the day. When the fight was over, you know, was it Atsunaga and Yura rush over to him and they were like, yo, like, we're going to capture you. He's like, I'm glad to see you two are okay. Like, we'll kind of, you know, discuss this afterwards, because he's like, Seme, like, there's something up with that guy. And so he immediately goes to track down Tsukimiya eventually, because Seme went to go see her as well, because he's got a whole bunch of questions, because I want to talk to you, because he's like, all of a sudden Takeru like came to visit you, and all of a sudden he's got this crazy boost in power. Like, did you do something? He's in like, oh, did that mask do something? She's like, oh no, it's a mask since I've had as a kid. It really doesn't have any power. Like, because she doesn't even know, like, oh, she's like, Takeru's safe. That's awesome. So I don't think they talked about at length about what she knows from Takeru about him, like rewinding time, well, like going back in time and stuff like that. But he's asking her questions about like how much she knows, to the point he puts her in this trance, trying to divine some kind of truth from her of like, what do you really know? And she's like, I don't know. It's interesting because he's like, when did you meet Takeru for the first time? And she says 6 days ago. And then the candles start flickering a little bit, and I'm wondering, I'm like, okay, so technically that's true, but I'm also wondering, is that maybe, I don't know, like, it felt like that was supposed to be like an indicator of like a lie detector test of she's lying, but it's like, it's a truth to her consciously, but subconsciously it's not one. So I'm like, is this actually the same Tsukimiya that has died previously that Takeru's seen? It's just, she, like, is on some deeper level, are there memories there? They just can't access them. That's what I'm wondering. Like, if that's what that's supposed to indicate. But Takeru walks in on this and tries to stop him, and Seme just like, you know, throws some stuff at him and disappears. And apparently Takeru learns from Tsukimiya, even though she can't remember like what he was asking her because she was in a trance. Apparently there are some nasty rumors about Seme that apparently he's been experimenting on people. Specifically, it came up after he took over the Onmyoji. So you're like, wait, what's going? So those rumors are around, and what I guess people believe it's complete and other BS. Because I guess it's almost like we have such a big threat in the Oni, we don't have time to believe in stuff like that because this guy has kept us going, but there's something there. Because I brought this up, I believe, last episode, where it's like, okay, so it's one thing if he doesn't want to talk about whatever he really knows in front of other people with Takeru, but there were moments in the previous reset where he had alone time with Takeru and he never broed anything up. So my theory was like, does he not remember until like some code activates or something inside of his head to unlock his real memories about things? Because I'm like, why BS to Takeru like at this point in time, or is he still like trying to suss out? Because obviously on some level you're like, wait, does he not remember any of the previous ones like iterations, or has like Takeru been the only one who remembers like the previous loops? Like, it's so fascinating because you're like, I don't know what to make of it, heads or tails of all of this. But he's definitely harboring a lot of secrets because there's stuff later on that makes you go, wait. I mean, because maybe it becomes that thing of, is he actively lying? Because I just brought it up previously of, is it a thing of you, it's like with the Tsukimiya of it all, it's like, well, she's technically not lying because to her, the truth is, I met him 6 days ago, but she's technically met him much longer ago, but she just doesn't have access to those memories, even though on some subconscious level, her mind and her body does remember. Either way, when that's all said and done, he's Seme also promoted her to be the dancer of the Centennial Pandemonium, which happened last time as well. And she's very excited about that because, you know, she said in the previous loop of how important that is because, or was it this time around? No, I think she said it previously in a previous loop of any little that she can do that can help like boost morale and help protect the people of Denji 8 Heian, then she's willing to do all that she can. So that's why being a part of this, being the dancer for the Centennial Pandemonium means so much to her in that regard because I can help people in the long run. We have Yura and Atsunaga being promoted to 5 stars. And I love Takeru goes to try and congratulate Atsunaga by cooking him a meal, having him bring over Yura. He's initially like, oh, you think you're going to buy me off of food? I'm not going to eat anything that you made and it's smelling so delicious. Plus, he brought a like scarf or whatever that Tsukimiya had worn, and that was enough to grease his palms enough to convince him to bring Yura over. And he's like, no, you guys go ahead and eat. I think it's actually really sweet because he does consider them not just like allies. They are legitimate friends of his because he's like, yeah, you and me, we fought. We've in fact gone mano a mano. But like, he's like, I think no matter what the circumstances are that we meet, he's like, I think we can become friends because it just feels like we are just destined to become friends. But he explains everything to them and they're like, okay, so you've gone back in time and you claim to have been from another world. But then they were like, why do you have that blossom symbol in your hand? He's like, this? And she's like, because they brought that up in a previous loop, I think the last loop, about how that symbol only, I'm pretty sure they brought, or was it this time around they brought it up? I don't remember now. So much is blurring together. But the whole conversation of how that symbol is only given to Denji Heian residents because apparently it's used for identification. I was under the assumption, my theory was like, oh, is Takeru actually from this world, but somehow he ended up in the world he believes he came from, and now he kind of essentially came home. But it turns out, like, Takeru's like, oh, I've had this symbol. He's like, oh, initially I thought it was a bruise or something like that. But it's like he's had it ever since that dream at the beginning of episode 1. Like I said, I was under the impression he had it his entire life, like it was almost like a birthmark or something. But it's like, no, he only got it after that dream. So that's interesting. Because he specifically has had this dream multiple times because that particular dream was like the 2000th time, or was it the 100? I think it was the 1999th time he'd had that dream or something like that. And making Tsukimiya like properly outside of the dream was the 2000th time. But now you act like in retrospect, you're like, well, were those really dreams, or were you like already caught in the loop back then as well? I mean, why did he specifically have that dream again and again and again? Like, was that preparing him for all of this? Or like I said, was he already part of the loop? Like, there's so much there too. Obviously, they hard cut then in the aftermath of all of that to the Centennial Pandemonium itself. and he's on nearby watch because he's like, all right, I need to be ready for this, because he had actually given Yura and Atsunaga a warning previously about like, watch out for this thing 7-step technique. And so he's like, yeah, but things have changed each time I've gone through this, so need to kind of be prepared for, any potential changes. So because he's like, right, there were other smaller Oni nearby, like we were fighting, like hampering our movement, so I'll be on the low ground handling that thing while you guys are in the Shikigami handling the big guys. So he ends up, promising to himself, it's like, yeah, he's going to protect everyone this time, now that he's kind of, finally taking that big step forward. Even got a little bit of a charm from Tsukimiya to do this, but he initially stops by Seme to see like, yo, what do you actually do during the Centennial Pandemonium? He's like, right, you don't want to miss this opportunity or whatever. He's like, maybe you will be able to, I forgot, he made some reference to maybe this time things will play out better for Denji. And he's like, whoa, what do you mean this time? So it's like, you do remember. I was like, but whatever, there's too much going on right now for me to stress about that. So I gotta back up Yura and Atsunaga, who get into like, what do they call that Shikigami again? Like the essentially is like the Megazord of Shikigamis essentially, and it is the same Oni from the last Centennial Pandemonium. And so they do take a little bit of Takeru's advisement on like, they go like, right, like, more so Yura's like, well, our tactic has always been just hit hard from the beginning, so they strike while on the ground side of things, Takeru is wiping out the like smaller Oni. I mean, they go to the point like they summon a sword or spear, whatever. They stab the thing, and then they shoot lightning that kind of like this weapon acts as like a conductor. It's like, oh, did we beat it? But it's like, no, the thing gets up. In fact, it starts powering up, starts taking steps, and you see the little bands on its leg, and you're like, oh, is that the 7 steps? So like that shows you where it is power level wise. But before they could try and stop it, their movements are hampered. They're like, oh wait. Basically, this thing has been feeding off every blow that they've instilled upon it, which I'm like, is that true or is that complete and utter BS? Because Takeru notices, he's like, wait, what's that? And the exact same thing that's feeding into the Shikigami is also feeding into the Oni, but from like a different location. So he rushes forward, runs into like 2 more of those monkey things that are trying to tag team him, but luckily defeats them and makes his way over. Because now, because the creature doesn't use the 7 steps. This time it's like, oh, you're prepared for the 7 steps, so I'm just going to take all the energy you like and take and redirect all those attacks and take that essentially kinetic energy and send it back towards you and fuel my power. And so when Takeru shows up, he notices like it's like a whole bunch of Oni doing the exact same thing that the Onmyoji are doing for the Shikigami. You're like, okay. And he starts noticing like his power starts waning. He's like, what's going on here? And even like the mark on his hand starts fading. But he's like, all right, I'll take care of this. So he starts whooping all the Oni and stops it. And because of that, the Oni was powered down. And in that moment, Atsunaga and Yura strike, killing it. And it looks like they're victorious. But when it all goes down, like more Oni start flooding out. But Takeru starts noticing not only does his power fade, but he looks around and all of the Oni turn into people. And you're like, wait, what? I felt like, I think I might have mentioned this earlier in the season. I don't want to try and give myself too much credit, but I was like, there's got to be something odd with the fact is that my theory was like, could the person behind the Oni actually be a person? Because like the fact is that the Oni were doing a 7-step move. Apparently it's something only the Onmyoji do. So I'm like, how is that possible? But then we see like, wait, these are regular citizens. In fact, Takeru recognizes one of them. He's like, yo, it's you. And then the Shikigami come in, busting up and killing these people, but only Takeru sees them as humans and not Oni. The rest of the Onmyoji see them as Oni, and he's trying to stop the others because he's like, can't you see them for what they really are? But then like Seme shows up and it's like, wait, what? So there's technically 2 of them because there's still the one back there orchestrating the whole Centennial Pandemonium. And he's like, what's going on here? Like, is this kind of spell? And he looks at Takeru's hand and sees that the symbol is going. He's like, no, you're just seeing the world for what it is. It's basically, it seems like this is this whole thing, the mechanisms of this world seem to be a a battle tug of war. Basically, with every death, you're basically making the other side stronger because there's like a survival of the fittest, and the survivors are stronger for it. And suddenly he gets attacked by Yura, but it's not the same Yura that's back there. It's a different Yura, but this Yura sees him as an Oni. So just like Denji Heian is seeing these people as Oni, but these people are also seeing them as Oni. So the quote unquote Oni that they killed must have just been a Shikigami that looked like an Oni to all of them. So why is it that in this moment, I guess he crossed this barrier between the black mist and their world? Like, I don't know, like in that moment, because you're like, because what the symbol seems to be the thing that deludes you into seeing the Oni as Oni, when in actuality they're just like Shikigami. So you're like, and the smaller ones are just regular people. It's just, I don't know what to fully make of that, because it's like, and now Takeru dies again, and here we go. And then that line from Seimei being like, oh, well, you know, we'll meet each other again. So you're like, okay. Because there was a whole thing of the black mist and stuff like that. Also, in that did not show up until after Seimei took over, like the Onmyoji. So my thought then becomes like, okay, so is this world constructed like there is a light and dark? Like is there like a, I guess using Stranger Things terms, is there an upside down? Because we haven't fully explored that mystery, but there seems to be a parallel between the upside down and the regular world, considering like the upside down looks like Hawkins, but it's like, apparently, as we learned, spoilers, in season 4, that Hawkins is stuck in the year that will disappear. So I'm wondering, I'm trying to bring the same parallel here, because I'm like, why is it that there are two Yuras? Why are there two Seimei? Like, are they supposed to be two sides of the same coin, both like supposed to be this eternal battle of that they're stuck in, and the easier way to like make it so that they're willing to do battle and not feel too guilty about killing one another is if each side sees the other as an Oni? Because there's like, could this be like the dark side of someone? Like, could it be a thing of you're supposed to come together, but this world has been divided between light and dark, and you're forever supposed to be in conflict with each other? Because the fact is that they both see each other as Oni, like, and like I said, there's multiples of other people. Not less, you don't think they're from a different timeline. Like, are they previous loops clashing with the present loop, or what? Like, is it almost kind of like a, I guess if you want to go on the Marvel side of things, it's like the clashing of timelines and universes trying to survive. So like, oh, our like timeline needs to survive, so we need to eradicate yours. Like, is that what this is? That like, once again, like, I went into this thinking like, oh yeah, this is just a super powered Yankee and an Isekai, and then we find out at the end of episode 1, wait, it's a time loop thing. And every episode, we feel like every time you feel like you might get some answers, the show throws more questions at you. Be like, oh, you thought you figured it out, well, here's a whole other angle to this. So it's like, I don't mean that as like a negative. It's such a fascinating thing, because I'm like, yo, like, this show continues to throw me for a curveball, you know. Because I have no idea, like, what to expect. I have no idea what the resolution to this is going to be. Like, what's the truth behind all of this? And, you know, and every time Takeru dies, I mean, you know, it's live, die, repeat, you know, where it's just, you know, or, once again, I have never read the original manga. Was it all you need is kill? So I don't know how close, I haven't even seen Live, Die, Repeat either, or Edge of Tomorrow, whichever title you want to call it by. But I've never seen that either, but I know the premise of it. I don't know how close All You Need Is Kill is to that. Like, how different that movie is from the actual manga. I know the title. I've seen like maybe like the cover of one of the volumes, but I've never seen and read the in-depth of synopsis of what that story is about. Either way, my point is, Takeru's learning more every time he loops and he's done. I mean, that's kind of a time loop for you to learn more. That's the purpose of those storylines. But still, like, so how is Takeru going to handle this? Because he's like, well, going after Seimei directly kind of screwed you over in this time frame. I mean, the benefit is some of the other Onmyoji will be back now. They won't be dead, but it becomes that thing of, I mean, it's a typical time travel rule of, when you are entering a new timeline or whatever, what happens to that previous timeline that you're from? Like, does that disappear, or is that technically continue? Like, so like you're from timeline A, but something happens and you basically go back in time and you're creating an alternate timeline. So he's technically on timeline C right now. So what happened to timeline B and A from the previous iterations? Did they disappear, or are they still ongoing and they coexist with the new timeline, an alternate timeline that Takeru is currently on? Because I mean, technically, this will make it timeline. This episode ends with setting up timeline D, so I have no idea what to expect. I mean, because things are different. It's not like things are exactly the same each time. Or, you know, once again, time travel rules vary from fiction to fiction. So could we make the argument? No, it isn't an alternate timeline. It is the exact same timeline, just being looped. Even though things are changing and smallest differences can have, like, you know, big butterfly effects. So are we going to make the argument that these aren't, like, even though he's going back in time, that this isn't an alternate timeline? He's just looping the, like, this is always and will forever be timeline A to our knowledge, and he's just looping that, or is every time he's looping, he's technically starting a brand new alternate timeline? Like I said, I get into weeds about time travel like that because I find it fascinating. I've talked about it time to time again with like different time travel stuff, but I know like time travel gets a little wonky and tricky for people in the regards of like, yeah, like they don't like that storytelling wise. I do, because I enjoy it, because I like I said, I like getting into the weeds of understanding the time travel rules, even if it's like a very fictitious one, and you know, it doesn't need to be like really based in science. Like, I'm just always fascinated by different interpretations of time travel and how you utilize it. So, but I've run my mouth off long enough. We'll ultimately have to wait to see where the next episode takes us going forward with all of this. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.